Tiffany Anyanwu is a 4-year industry veteran, independent stylist, and entrepreneur, and is now fully independent in her own suite. This is not the first time that we've had a chance to talk with Tiffany. As a matter of fact, this is the third episode that we've done. And so we've been paying attention and tracking her journey through her career. And with this update, I'm super excited to bring her on the show. Welcome back to the Hairdresser Strong Show. My name is Robert Hughes, and I am your host. And today I'm with Tiffany Anyanwu. How you doing today, Tiffany?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm very good. So thank you so much for asking.
No problem.
So thanks for coming back and checking in with us. I'm excited to follow your journey. And so last time we talked, you were doing like a transitional period. You were working at a dry bar while you were building up your suite clientele. You're the first person I've heard doing that. Since I've heard you doing it, I have heard a couple of other people doing it. And I think that's a really interesting process and journey. And now you're fully independent. So why don't we go with tell us a little bit about like the transition process, or give us a little bit, like add any context to anything I just said, and give us kind of like your update on what you've done so far and where you're at.
So yes. I I guess backtrack, I guess like the main reason why I didn't leave the dry bar being commissioned right away. I said in the last interview pretty much just, financial based reasons. I just didn't want to go fully independent without knowing exactly what that was going to look like. Um So yeah, I pretty much was just gauging it. And I will say, even looking back at it, I know that that doesn't work everywhere because even just the idea of essentially you are stealing clients in some way, shape, or form. Even now with the whole non-compete being dissolved, still you can't really control who follows you or who doesn't. So I can recognize that that isn't the most common thing, and that is something that probably a lot of salon owners would kind of be wary of. Um, so I will say I just got to the point where honestly I was making less money commission based than I was on my own. And I decided I might as well just take the risk and just go fully independent and see how it goes.
Nice, nice. So I thought that the dry bar made sense more so than like a full service salon, for you to be running, you're doing it, going and being independent. I think the full service salon concept, I totally agree with what you're saying. Like it'd be hard not to imagine a salon owner being, cautious with bringing on people that have their own suite, because it could be a feeder from the salon into the suite. However, if you worked in a salon in Arlington or Tyson's Corner, but then your suite was in Bowie,
Yeah.
maybe then that wouldn't be that big of a deal. So that's a thought, you know. However, the dry bar can be potentially be a feeder for other services, so there might not be quite as much of a conflict. That said, Asia Menace Cruz Lanham, who is the owner of Thrive Hair Bar, I've interviewed her, and shout out, what's up, Asia? And so we she in her interview, she doesn't do chemical services or extensions. It's all natural cutting and styling.
Yeah.
So she has some people that have their own suite to do extensions and chemical work like color and perms, relaxers, etc. So I just wanted to add that context because I totally agree with you, except for I do know one salon owner who is happy to have that conversation. And
Yeah.
and I also know another salon owner who told one of his apprentices to go get a suite, and while they're apprenticing, to get their speed up, and then once they get their speed up, then they can start full time behind the chair. That was like the one thing holding them back. And once that person goes full time as a employee, they have this huge book waiting for them. And so there are opportunities that present themselves. And, but I agree with your kind of base premises. Yes, I think that's a um, challenging negotiation to have. But you did it through Dry Bar, which I thought was so smart because you're able to kind of have both things. Okay, so being fully independent, how long ago did you go fully independent?
I it's been about maybe 5 months. I went fully independent in September, very beginning of September. So yeah, about 5 months.
So how was the holiday season? Was it as
Whew,
busy? Was it
it
yeah,
was it was very busy.
that's amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing, and I will say, like, I say it all the time, even to my clients, I'm extremely grateful, but it can be a little bit overwhelming sometimes, because even a problem that I'm having and it's a good problem to have, let me just put that out there, but a problem that I am having is now I'm about 1 to 2 months fully booked out in advance, but then that causes, like, my regulars having to reschedule their appointments. It's just like, no, it's best that you schedule at least the next 3, 4 months in advance before you can't get anything. Or if I do have appointments booked out that far in advance, and then now there's cancellations coming in. And yes, some people add themselves to the wait list, but if they had already made other plans prior to get their hair done, or now they're not available and something does come up, it's just like, okay, empty space. So,
Totally. So this is like one of the big things that this independent stylists talk about the most, specifically in that people that are in suites. Because even in a booth rental, people might be able to like talk to each other in a moment and be like, "Hey, can you pick this person up?" And I know some sweet folks, they have a relationship with like that with other people in the building. Um, but I do think that the conversation around pre-booking and canceling clients and having policies, I think that's where all those conversations stem from, what you're talking about, because I really don't think they stem from salon owners, because the intensity in which people talk about cancellation policies, like it only makes sense that it's coming from somebody who is like, oh great, that's like my day, like where to go,
yeah.
we need to do something about this. So what are you thoughts about the argument that you shouldn't allow customers to book too far out? Because when you want to book a vacation, or if you get sick and you need to reschedule people, it turns into like a nightmare. One,
Yeah.
have you had that happen yet, where you had to like take off because you were sick a couple days, and like how did you handle that? And if you haven't had that happen, what do you think thoughts about that?
Luckily I haven't had it where I'm sick and have to cancel and call
Knock on
out.
wood.
Um, yeah, literally knock on wood, especially with all these viruses going
Yeah,
around.
for real.
So, yeah. But I will say also another thing that I think as far as like vacations and everything, I don't know if it's coming from prior working in retail and then also working commission based. Like I'm pretty good with like scheduling my vacations at least 3 months in advance. So that time
Nice.
is already blocked off. Nobody could book. Even if like I kind of forget, like, oh yeah, I'll just see it on my books. Like, nope, I'm not gonna be around. You have to schedule around it. But I will say, ooh, because I will say even I do have a friend that works right next to me. Unfortunately, she got sick recently. She thought that she was just gonna be out for, like, maybe a day, 2 days, and it's been almost a week. Um,
Oof.
yeah, so and I'm not gonna lie, stuff like that does make me nervous, but also, of course, just trying to be hopeful, trying your best to have, like, precautions taking care of yourself. But I will say one thing that I did have to even scale back on myself is really committing to my days off. Because I'm the type of person, like, if I have to work 7 days a week, I'll do it. It's not, I don't love doing it. Sometimes I even do like 14 days a week, 14 days straight without even realizing that that's what I'm doing. So I think obviously just having, for me, it would be like, okay, maybe I have to take a few days out, but then I may have to sacrifice some of my days off. Um, or even just, yeah. But I think even before that, it's just one thing I have realized is being completely transparent with your clients. That's probably the best thing. Letting them know. And also the same thing too as like what you said earlier, like even having maybe one or two other hairstylists that you can refer them to. And maybe even kind of coming up with some type of agreement like, look, I'm out because of X, Y, and Z. I'm gonna, if you have the availability, I could slide these clients to you, but is it possible that I could still get like maybe like 10% off of whatever you're charging them, whatever the case maybe is. So it's something that I haven't had to experience firsthand, and I really do pray to God that I don't have to, but that's just kinda how I think of it, so, yeah.
I think that that's really smart because, like, you're saying, basically, what I hear you saying, and I mean, I'm pretty sure this is almost exactly what you said, but I'm hearing, well, I have days off, so if I need to make up time, I can use my days off, like if I get sick,
Yeah,
which I mean, that's how I feel. Like, that I have a separate challenge, and I feel like other people might have this challenge as well. I book my free time up, and I book the time before work and the time after work. I'm way too booked up.
yeah,
I have learned to book my I have learned to book time to do nothing.
yeah,
I have learned to do that, and that's what the other thing that you're saying is, like, making sure you have the time booked so it's there, but
mhm,
like. I'm kind of like in a similar situation because if I have a week off, I'm like, I'm stuff's just not going to get done. Like,
yeah,
like that's just, it's not good. Like, booking yourself up too much is not good, and underbooking yourself might be bad. You know what else I do as and this is like something that I haven't had as much lately, but that's because I have like a project I'm working on. So God willing, please, like, this won't be forever, maybe for another year or two, but like ideally we'll get to a point where I want to do this. But my point is, for behind the chair, if I book myself from like 10 to 6, or say like 10 to 5:15 is my last appointment that I'll take. Well, I'll come in at 9, 8:30. I'll stay past. And that is how I handled that for a long time, is like I created like handlebars on my day that were gray areas. Like, in my head, I knew that I could be working. So if I made plans, it wouldn't start until 8 o'clock at night or something
yeah,
like that. Like, I wouldn't book myself something to do within my gray area handlebar. And that's also probably why I went to happy hour a lot, because, like, you got a lot of afternoons where it's still you're getting off. So anyway,
right.
I thought that I think I like what you're saying. Okay, so days off, and then what was the other thing you said, the other way you handle it?
Also pretty much as far as vacations, definitely scheduling, trying
Oh
your best
yeah.
to schedule that way in advance.
Totally, I love that too. Like,
Yeah,
I believe in the philosophy of never cancel any appointments, and so I'd like to book my stuff 3 to 6 months out. So that said, some people are not going to be happy with this right now. I already know, like, people are gonna like be kind of annoyed, but I've never been booked 6 months out solid. So it's easy for me to say this because I can't imagine. You imagine being 6 months booked out and you getting sick for a week?
that
What are
exactly.
you gonna do?
Exactly,
Yeah, and
exactly. Because
y
even I'll be honest, like, I probably only have 2 slots available in February. March is also starting to close up too, and I'm just here just like, "Yep." Tiff, please don't get sick. Please don't get sick.
Yeah.
So it I don't know, and I
So,
really don't know.
well, okay, so this might already exist. So if you know about this or anybody listening or watching knows about this, please tell us. But there's a project management software, and I forget what it's called, but it's really cool. It's like if it's not, I'm sure I guess where I'm going with this, I would like a mobile app or an app for our schedule that does this. It's got AI, and if you tell it to move things, it's like, hey, I'm out sick for a week. Now I don't know if the project manager software does this, but anybody listening that's out there that's in that in tech,
Yeah,
and you want to create you want to upgrade your software or create a new one, unless there's one that already exists. But imagine if you had like a AI agent inside of your software, and you could be like, hey, I'm out a week, I need you to move some appointments around, and it helped you like call those people, move their appointments around. But that's a lot, still a lot of appointments to move around. I don't know that that's realistic, because like then you're moving people's appointments that booked it. That's not cool either.
yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
and it's hard to because 'cause I'll be honest, one, that sounds like a very genius idea and definitely needed, but at the same time, like, I'm very much the same way, like, I don't believe in canceling clients. If I can do it, if I gotta put on a mask, if I whatever, I just would rather not cancel than having to cancel. But yeah, because even I've run into it where even, like, just trying to move things around, like, let's say someone else cancels and now I have this huge gap in my books, and of course, it's in it hopefully, it's always in advance, at least 48 hours, so now I'm trying to see if maybe the other people could move up and all this other stuff, and a lot of the times, like, people book the times that they booked for a reason, so that could either lead to like, yeah, no, that doesn't work for me, or I'm just gonna have to cancel my appointment altogether and I'll find someone else to go to. And that's what makes me nervous sometimes with having to cancel clients.
Hold up, are you saying that if you call someone to see if they can move, they'll be like, you know what, I'm just going to cancel it?
Sometimes that does
So
happen.
they're just annoyed that you're calling them trying to move the appointment.
Sometimes. Like
Oh snap!
I've probably had like since I've been independent, I've probably had that happen to me twice where I think I just had to move things around and one person like, yeah, one or two people were just like, "Yeah, honestly, I think I'm just gonna cancel the appointment for that day and I'll reschedule for when it works for me." Something along the lines. Or it's just a flat out like, "Yeah, no, I can't make it in earlier or I can't make it in later." And I'm just like, "Okay, have to work around it." So yeah.
Totally, totally. How many days are you in your suite?
So I actually just reduced it down to 4 days a week.
Okay, nice. So, what do you do in your time off?
Kinda like you said, other stuff. I feel
Sleep.
like I feel like a day off is never a day off because
Totally.
either you're trying to catch up on things for your actual life or trying to do admin stuff. So, like, even for example, now I've gotten it to Sunday through Tuesday, I'm off. Literally yesterday, it was like Pilates, getting my nails done. Today, it was like meetings on top of meetings, and then tomorrow it's also like Pilates and another self-care service, and then squeezing in two clients. So a day off is never actually a day off. I have also tried my best to have some days where like I really am not doing anything or I just have one errand to do and the rest of my day is free. But I'll be honest, those days are rare. Yeah.
Do you plan for one of your days to be an admin day, or do you just kind of like do the admin when you can?
A little bit of both. Like,
Okay.
if I know for sure I have things to do, then I will plan ahead. But if it's like, if I just if I have a kind of like a free week or free time off period, then I'll just kind of fit in admin stuff where I can.
Cool, nice. Okay, so what type of exciting things are you looking forward to over the next say 6 months or so?
So, in the next 6 months, I will say one of the biggest things is I'm actually, I'm actually trying to split my time between the DMV and back home in Jersey. So, to me, that looks like possibly renting out my space again on my days off. I'm thinking of either two different models, either having it where they come in, pay a certain price per day, they bring in their own tools, their own products. But then also another model where, okay, you're free to use anything in the salon. I'm basically hiring you and I'm taking a commission. And then hopefully between splitting my time between here and Jersey, I'm hoping that that will look like taking clients in both areas. So yeah, just trying to figure that part out. Another thing, I'm coming on my 1 year anniversary in the suite in April. So I'm just trying to figure out what I want that to look like. Um,
Congratulations.
Thank you, thank you. So I don't know if that looks like just something for my clients for the month of April, throwing an event. I'm not too sure. I feel like I probably have next month to figure that out before I decide on what I'm gonna do. And then also just honestly doing more weddings this year. Um, I have I have one wedding scheduled for May that I'm doing, and then funny enough, my god sister actually just called me yesterday to do her wedding in October, but it's going to be in Greece. So I'm very
Nice.
excited about that.
Nice. We're gonna be in Greece in October. It's Sammy and I's
Really?
10-year anniversary.
Okay,
Yeah.
congratulations.
Thank you. Well, we haven't made it yet, but I'm pretty confident we will,
You will. You
Okay, this is exciting. So this like do you still have a lot of family in Jersey?
Yes and no. As far as my immediate family, it's just my parents that are still there, but definitely have like more aunts, uncles, cousins. Most of my friends are still in Jersey as
Oh,
well.
most of your friends. Okay.
Yeah.
So why are you going to keep your suite here? Is there what's keeping you in DC?
If I'm being completely honest, my clients.
Okay. All right, that's a good
I
reason.
Yeah, I feel like especially at the fact that I started my career here, not just like working as a hairstylist, but even just getting my license, going to cosmetology school. The idea of starting completely over somewhere else kind of makes me nervous. So just the fact that I do have a pretty consistent clientele here that I know, like, even if I'm not around, that when I am around, there definitely will be booking with me. That is the security of it all. So yeah, that's honestly, it's really just my clients that are really keeping me here.
So your clients I, are they super supportive of you? I mean, I'm assuming that do you have any clients that have been with you for a while through like multiple places and
Yeah,
changes and stuff?
yeah.
Can you speak to that? And I want you to like let's say it's your I want you to talk to the student who's in cosmetology school who's thinking about their career about the how you feel about your customers, your regulars, the people who come and see you and support you.
Ooh, so I'll be honest, at this point in my career, even though literally 4 years is pretty short, and I mean like 4 years from getting my license, working at different salons to being here now, I would say I have at least one client who has followed me through different locations all the way from up when I was an assistant. And then I do have clients that have been with me since 2021 when I just started at the blow dry bar. Before I went to a different location before I came back, and then now that I'm here in my salon suite. Honestly, at this point, I really do look at them like family. It's kind of sort of at the point where they've even told, like, I've kind of also been transparent with them, like, I am considering splitting my time between here and Jersey, and they're just like, yeah, I will go out to Jersey to come visit you and get my hair done, or just like, anytime that you're here, just make sure you let me know. I'll be scheduling my appointments. Um, but overall, even like how I said before, that transparency between me and my clients, like obviously I'm not always just regurgitating my life to them, or like getting them too involved with my business, like in my personal business. I've kind of always been a little bit like private in a sense, and I didn't notice that. But it's just building those relationships with them, making them feel seen, feel heard, listening to them. And I think that's a conversation that has been going around in the industry for the last couple months now, is also people realizing why they lose clients. And a lot of times it has to do with stuff like that. Um, but yeah, I've just kind of understood, and maybe it's a me thing, maybe it's a in general thing, but I've kind of come to the point where I realize like a lot of the times my clients aren't necessarily coming to me to get their hair done, but more so just how I make them feel. So just kind of like figuring out what works for you, and being authentic in that way. That's pretty much how I realize like that's how I've built those really, really consistent clients that have stuck with me for the last 4 years.
Nice. I love that. I'm like, my clients are, I don't know, I just love my clients. They're amazing. I mean, they support me. They they share with me what's going on in their life. They're curious about what's going on in my life. They give me advice
Yep.
without me even asking for it. They take my advice and treat me like I'm an expert, which makes me
Yeah.
feel, even more like stronger and convicted in my abilities. It's like, that's a huge piece, and that's awesome. I'm glad to hear that you're having a similar experience, and I feel like that's probably most people. I mean, I don't want to speak for most people, but I'm just going to go out on a limb here and say most people in this industry are probably, if you stay around long enough, you probably have that same feeling, unless maybe you work on like a resort where
Yeah.
you don't have regulars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like also like, if I'm being completely honest, I think some people that are having the opposite effect is kind of just like, I hate to say it, but it's also just kind of like, are you focusing more so on yourself and not the clients? Or are you honestly getting probably a little bit tired of your job where you don't really care anymore, you know? So, of course, we all have our days where I really don't want to be here. I don't want to talk. I don't want to hear what you have going on. But at the same time, one of the biggest things that was taught in cosmetology school and that will always follow you is literally learning how to leave your own personal things at the door before you step in. And I would say that has helped. Like, even, I'll be honest, there was a day a couple months ago where I wasn't able to fully leave my personal things at the door, and luckily, I was with one of my regular clients that comes every 2 weeks, and she was just, talking, asking me how my day was going, how my week was going, and next thing you know, I'm boohoo crying, and literally, she's just like, "Oh my god, like, do you need a hug?" And, like, literally, I was shampooing her hair, she steps up, hair dripping on my shoulder, and now we're laughing because her hair is dripping on my shoulder. So it's like stuff like that where I guess learning how to be vulnerable with your clients in in a professional way where they realize that you are human, but also being able to acknowledge them too and what they need, and not just doing their hair. Because let's be real, being a hairstylist, it's more than just doing hair. So yeah.
Totally. I just got a tear in my eye from that. Like, I can definitely relate to that. That's amazing. I'm so happy that this is all so positive. I think I would love to check in and maybe like maybe mid to late summer or something, maybe 6 to 9 months from now, and see like what's your timeline on figuring out the split in your time?
I am hoping that by April, May, I should be able to have somebody else in here on my
Oh,
days off.
so this you're planning on this year. You'll be at some point this year. You'll be working in Jersey.
Yeah.
Are you thinking of going to a suite, or are you going to a salon first, or what are you thinking?
Honestly, so basically, just putting it all out there, this has been my thought process, honestly, for the last year. So basically, before I got my salon suite, I actually had a interview with the salon in Jersey that the owner went to graduated high school at one of my sisters. So not only have I been like, keeping an eye on them, but like literally a salon that I admired. And interview went absolutely well. When I was leaving, they were just like, yeah, we would love to have you on the team, just figure out what days you would be able to be in Jersey, what that looks like. But then as soon as I got back here, trying to follow up on like the paperwork I needed to sign, pretty much that salon owner backtracked and said that she would prefer that I apply to work there when I am full time in Jersey.
Mm,
Cause I was just telling her, like, I'm trying to teeter around the fact of like moving back full time or if I want to be doing both. And that's what I mean by like, I could definitely understand why some salon owners would be a little bit weary on like someone. In a sense, I was pretty much telling her, like, yeah, I'm trying to build my clientele through you. And however that goes is how it goes. Um, so then I did get my salon suite. I'm not sure if I told you in the last interview, but I went into this as a partnership with a coworker at the time from the dry bar. That did not work out. Literally probably a month in, I was just like, yep, this isn't going to work for me. So we have to figure out how we're going to separate. So from there, just been trying to figure things out. Earlier, like towards the end of last year, so like earlier December, there was actually a bigger salon space available in this building where I was just like, okay, this would be a perfect opportunity to kind of expand, probably bring in an assistant as well as still, have someone else rent from me or work with me. But then honestly, just kind of sitting down doing the math, I was just like, even though that's a great idea, that's actually me increasing my expenses rather than increasing my revenue. And it could be both, but initially I would be increasing my expenses. So I just kind of had to take a step back and realize, like, okay, if I really want to hopefully expand in Jersey, whether that's full time, part time, what makes the best sense. So that's kind of how I came back to like, just going about having a partner or an employee or whatever, someone renting from me, but going about it in a better way where I'm actually thinking about it, figuring out what I want that to look like, possibly not working with a friend or someone who may be a friend, but we've had issues in the past. Um, so that's kind of where I'm at right now. Even when I do get someone else in here, I'm not too sure if it would be me working in Jersey right away. But I it, it just gives me a little bit more time to figure out what I want that to look like in Jersey, whether I'm doing a booth rent somewhere or getting a salon suite somewhere, or who knows, maybe opening an actual salon in Jersey. Cause yeah, I'm also realizing that especially North Jersey, where I am from, we're not too far from the city. but finding hairstylists in that area is a little bit harder compared to just crossing the bridge or going through the tunnel to New York. Everything is right there. So it kind of just makes the wheels turn like, okay, am I going to do this on my own in Jersey where it's just me again? Or should I try and actually expand, get a salon, bring in other people, hire them so that there are more options for people in North Jersey? So yeah, that part I'm still trying to figure out. But as far as here, I think right now it's just trying to, like kind of utilize this space a little bit better.
Gotcha, gotcha. Well, I know we're coming up on our time, and I appreciate you updating us. And this is also exciting. Like, I definitely want to check back in with you. Maybe even like early fall to give you kind of like more time to get figure out what you're doing, get settled.
Yeah.
Real quick, I don't know where you're at, but there's a salon called the Warehouse Salon, and that might not. I know New Jersey's a big state, so I'm not. I don't know if that's like anywhere near where you'd be, but he has like a collective type where you have like some level of independence, and but you also have like a team, and so I'm not really sure what he's looking for, but I know that was the first thing that I thought of when you said Jersey. So if that's not far from you, definitely check it out. Let me know. I will gladly hit up Nick. What's up, Nick? How you doing? I need to get
Funny.
him on the back on the show too.
Yeah, because actually, funny enough, I am from Essex County. I'm from Maplewood, New Jersey, and it says that it's in Essex County too. It's in Fairfield, is it?
Yeah, it looks like Bloomfield. Oh, that's the street. Yeah, Fairfield.
Let me actually see.
Yeah, Fairfield, New Jersey. Nice. 239 reviews, almost all 5 stars. That's pretty awesome.
Mhm. I will say that I actually would definitely love to talk to the owner in some way because that's actually only 30 minutes from my parents' house.
All right, cool. Well, let's wrap this up. And when I get off the call, I will make the introduction. We'll get that
Mm,
happening right away.
thank you very, very much.
Absolutely. No, thank you. My pleasure. Thank you so much for taking us on your journey and checking in along the way. We'll get you back on in, sometime later this year. What is like, I would like you, if you have anything to say to the student in school who is thinking about being independent, um, thinking about maybe anything you want to say to the student, whether whatever they're thinking. It doesn't matter what they're thinking because they're thinking what they're thinking.
Whew, especially to a student still in school, right?
Yes, to a student in school.
So, thinking about being independent, I'll be completely honest. If they don't already have some type of clientele or some type of resources that can sustain them for a year, no matter what their clientele or what their books look like, I would not recommend it if they don't have that. But overall, just literally just I said it last time too. There is absolutely nothing wrong with trying out a few different places, whether you have to stay there like a month to 6 months to a year, 2 years, just, testing out different places, seeing what that feels like. Because you are going to be meeting people along the way. And like I said, you can't really control who follows you and who doesn't. So I would honestly recommend just finding whether it is the salon home or a few salon homes to work from, getting experience, honestly seeing how other people do business, how other people run their businesses. Take what you need, leave the rest, and then think of and also definitely plan on going on your own. But coming right out of cosmetology school, I just would not recommend it. And it's funny too because even after before I left the dry bar the first time, my dad actually was kind of pushing me towards going to the salon suite and or even just like owning something. And I was just like, honestly, I don't know if I'm ready because, yeah, I have clientele right now, but I don't know how many of them are loyal to the salon that I'm at or if they're loyal to me. So I think definitely even just leaving, going to a brand new salon that just opened, that salon didn't necessarily have clientele. That's how I was really able to see, okay, these are my clients. Like I could take them with me, bring them back and take them with me again. So I feel like definitely until you have that for sure, I wouldn't recommend going on your own.
So that what everything you just said, I feel like I want to have a whole separate conversation about that specific because I feel like there's so much in there. And of course we're not because we're at our time, but I will kind of I want to thank you for that. That was so good. It's like if you're gonna go independent, have a plan. Like
Mhm.
don't just like jump in without running your numbers and and figuring out and you said make sure you have a clientele or enough resources to like make sure you're got your operating take expenses taken care of and maybe your personal expenses like rent
Yeah. Yep.
for for a year. I like
Yeah.
that. I would have said like 3 to 6 months, but I think a year will take away the anxiety that we have from making and it call leads to bad decision making. I think
Yeah.
that's really smart because you said resources. You didn't necessarily like so maybe you have like maybe you don't have a year's worth of expenses, but you have 6 months, but you have half the clientele you need. So
Yeah.
so it could be something like that. So I think the question is, how much money do we need to make in order to be confident about going independent? And I think that's a whole separate conversation because it's nuanced. Because what if you're a barber? What if you
Yeah.
only do extensions? What if you know what I mean? So like, there's a lot of nuances to that conversation, but I think there's like a general conversation we can have, and then give people enough information to go off and like do their own research that as it pertains to their
Yeah.
specialty. So
But I also even as sorry, as even as far as, like, how much money that you need to make, I also feel like sometimes that has a lot to do with your personal expenses as well as your expenses to operate. So it kind of even goes down to like even when you're renting an apartment, they want you to make at least 2 to 4 times the rent per month for a reason. It kind of
right.
even reflects in on like how much you need to make for your business. Like for me, I definitely budget not only my operating expenses in the salon suite, but also my expenses, like my personal expenses. I combine that together and I try my best to make at least 2 times the amount of that per month, just so that
Nice.
it gives me room for anything extra, but also gives me room to save. And then also
And
just remember
breathe.
yeah, yeah, and breathe and live life, but then also remember being independent, you do have taxes to pay at the end of the year. So also realizing like, yeah, you have to put away like 15 to 20% of that all the time. That's also another thing. So y- independent, not independent, you're never seeing 100% of your money. So
Yeah, and imagine if you are one of those $100,000 hairdressers and you got to write a $15,000 to $20,000 check at the end of the year. Where's that money? I hope you got that stashed away somewhere. That's a lot of money. you know.
literally, because I'll be completely honest, I did tell myself, like, the first year operating, you have enough time to make as many mistakes as you can so that you know what to do moving forward. But I'll be honest, like, yeah, I'm kinda just hoping that I have enough expenses plus, working commission to just kinda balance everything out where I don't owe that much, but literally, like, let's be real. If you are making over $100,000 per year, I would pray to God that you have at least, like, 15 to $20,000 put to the side. So,
Totally.
yeah.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing, and I look forward to the next update.
Thank you. You as well.